We're so excited that you've joined us for today's live stream presented by RVTravel.com. Today's program will begin shortly. While we allow some time for others to join, we want to take care of a few housekeeping items. Everything presented in this live stream is true to the very best of our knowledge and experience, but we are human. Occasionally, we might be wrong. We don't want you spending thousands of dollars simply because we said something was good or fixing something according to what we suggested. Do your research, check your owner's manual, and seek assistance from your vetted and trustworthy certified RV technician.
So during our live stream, it's only going to get better if you participate. We'd love to hear from YOU. So while you're tuning into the show, please let us know what kind of rig you have, where you currently reside, if you're a part-timer, if you're a full-timer, and most importantly, what technical questions can we help you with? Feel free to submit your questions throughout the show. You can even start that right now.
During today's live stream, we may show you what we like to call cool tools. These are tools and gadgets that we actually use and we believe will be helpful to you. If you are interested in learning more about these products, please see the YouTube description box for more information.
During today's live stream, we will be doing a giveaway. To be included in the drawing, be sure to include a hashtag on the screen in your comments during the live stream. So let's get started.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our 1/11/2023. I can't believe it's 2023 already. I'm still running on Windows 89 or something, I believe that is. But we're here with Dustin. Where did Dustin go to? Whoops. There we go. We're here with Dustin and Zach of California RV Specialties out in Lodi, right?
Yes, sir.
How much water have you gotten out there?
Too much.
Enough to swim in it.
Well, there are a few motorhomes that I have seen actually go into lakes and ponds. I think Fleetwood had one at one point. Remember seeing that? They would go in and...
The amphibious motorhomes?
Yeah, well, I think it's ironic because I think a lot of RVs leak enough already without connecting them to something like that. So we don't have anybody on yet that I see of here. Or am I out of the comments section here? Nope. We're fine. Wonder where all our people are at. Where's
17 people watching right now.
What's that?
There's 17 people on watching right now.
Am I on the wrong post?
Nope.
Here? Where am I at?
You're good.
Private chat. I don't see them on here.
Well, they're not commenting. They're just, it shows that they're on there.
Ah, okay. Well, so to begin with, I guess let's start off. First of all, next week we are going to switch it up a little bit. We are going to go live from the Florida RV show. And I'm going to bring this up here. I'm doing seminars next week at 1 o'clock every day. We start at the 18th, which is Wednesday. I'll be doing a tips for choosing the right RV for you at the seminar building. But then we're going to go live at 3 o'clock Eastern time. So it's a different day and time on Thursday. And we're going to be going with Lippert. From their A200 space, which is in the seminar building, and it's 3 o'clock Eastern time, so it's 12 o'clock Pacific time. Zach, you're going to have to eat a little early next week.
Nope, not allowed. Nope.
Okay, you can eat on the show. That's fine.
Okay, good enough.
I don't care. Just go a little bit to the right so we don't see your pastrami or whatever you're going to have. But that should be very interesting because we're going to go live from the show. They are... Winnebago's going to unveil a new e-RV that they have done a huge trip around the country with. And then we'll have some things that are live from the show and so forth. So it'll be kind of fun. I'm going to get this off of there. And so we've got that live going on. If you're anywhere in the Florida RV area, please come down and check us out. I got a meet and greet that's going at 10 o'clock on Friday as well. So we have Terry, hi, from Cirrus, California. Hi, Terry. How you doing?
Hey.
Joe looks like a combination of Dustin and Zach. He's got hair on the bottom and none on the top. So in his little caricature there. Hi, Joe. Britt's back. There's the one I was saying. Hi, Britt. How you doing? And what is our hashtag today, guys?
It is hashtag camp. Make sure you guys are putting it up there. Hashtag camp.
And we are giving away a Bureau of Land Management, BLM camping book, which is a very, very popular book. So Jeff is from Minnesota. Jeff, I am 20 miles away from the Minnesota border. We can almost see Canada from there. And it's so flat. But we've had a couple good days here. It got up into the mid 30s today. So that is absolutely fantastic for Northern Iowa in January. The more days we can go without snow, the better. So Britt got in, hashtag camp. Way to go, Britt. She's won before. I believe it's a she. I guess I took that for granted, I guess. So anyway, so what questions have we had this week come up? There was a few of them that we got today. You saw the one I posted about the water heater. I believe that's going in tomorrow. So somebody has their water heater is not filling up. And they have a 2022 Keystone that they just got and they just started using. And they were told that the freshwater tank does not need to be filled. And that's one of those questions that kind of come in. It's like, okay, there's so many variables in doing that. So if you're in the switch inside does nothing. So that's the information I got. What do you guys think?
The question is, if the water heater's not filling?
Yes.
Either, bad check valve on the back or winterization valve, it's bypassing.
Yeah, sure.
Those would be the first two things I would check if I'm able to gain access behind that water heater. The winterization valve is going to be easier. Now, really, that's going to be it. If they have you said it was a newer unit, correct?
2022 Montana, fifth wheel.
So I'm not sure if those use some kind of like Nautilus system or something for winterization, making sure you're in the right settings for doing what you need to do. But that would be where I would start.
Yeah. So it'll post tomorrow. But what I showed her a picture of. I went online. Winnebago has their 3D drawing, so I showed where the bypass valve is, and they're hooked to city water fill. I forgot to tell you that, but they they're not getting water. So I said, well, the first thing I would look at that bypass valve, and it's designed so you divert water away from the water tank, which means you don't have to have 6 or 10 gallons of RV antifreeze if you're going to use the pink stuff in there. Since it's not filling up the freshwater tank, they don't have, on the city water fill, that unit, I went online and looked, and it also has a diverter valve that you can either go freshwater or fill the freshwater tank, when you're hooked to city water fill. So you don't have to take it out, put it in the gravity fill on the back side of it. And, the switch does nothing inside, basically. That turns the unit on and off. It does nothing about diverting water one way or another. And so what I told her to do is have it on city water, make sure your bypass is to going into the tank, and then turn on your hot water faucet and see if you get any water coming out of it. If you do get water coming out of that faucet, the tank is full. It could be just they don't know it's full, but if it's then cold, they're thinking, okay, I don't have any hot water. And so then you can start troubleshooting the actual tank itself. But good call on the winterizing kit as well. All right. So Terry said he just finished up my wiring of the solar system, etc. Now ready to put the underbelly on it. What material do you recommend on a 2003 28-foot Cougar travel trailer? So if you put the solar panel on and you're going to put an underbelly over it, you put it on the wrong place. Turn the RV around. No. So what I'm assuming is somehow he put solar panels up and he wired it and then ran it underneath to batteries and a controller. So he would have taken off that corrugated piece. What do you guys call it out there?
It's coroplast, but it's the corrugated plastic material. That's the best stuff. You can get like that thinner sheet material too. That's more similar to like the layout of the Darko tape or the Scrim Shield. Mm-hmm. But that's not as good as just putting that hard coroplast underneath.
Yeah. Well, and the coroplast, actually it's got little hollow tubes in it or air, whatever you want to call that. It's corrugated. So there is a little bit of insulation, more insulation than you would get out of that solid sheet stuff. And, from my experience, it just seems to hold a little better. It doesn't crack as much if it gets cold. I don't know where Terry's from, but all that stuff is kind of when it gets cold, you want to make sure you use the right stuff.
So I don't know if you've seen it yet or not. A lot of the manufacturers like ORV and Grand Design and stuff, they're using a similar coroplast, but the bottom material is almost like fabric in texture, and using those to resecure them, they're using those nails that kind of have splines and they drive up, and when you pull them out, you got to put something else in there because they don't re-stick. But using like Scrim Shield or Darko tape, it's not sticking. You lay it up like you normally would, everything's clean, ready to go, and it just does not adhere.
Yep. So
I do have to apologize.
Britt says he's a he. So my apologies, and I'm a he. So I don't think that is a nationality. So all right. And Terry, what kind of solar panels did you put on? I'd be interested in. Did you upgrade the batteries with that as well? And are obviously you're planning to do some boondocking if you put solar panels on it. So I hope you tell us what you're using out there. So Michael is
Terry's been to our shop before.
Hello, Lazy Days in Tampa. I will be here going to the show next week. Did I hear that Dave will be there also? Yes, I will. If so, where and when, and will you have your seminar? Mike from York, Pennsylvania. And it's kind of ironic. When I worked at Winnebago, I remember when Lazy Days was in Tampa, their sales office was up on one part of this major street, and then the service was clear down, and it was just a nightmare getting back and forth. And they went and designed what Lazy Days is today, and they are in Seffner, Florida, which is it's not really a town. It's just Lazy Days in Cracker Barrel. They have their own town out there now. So yes, I'll be Michael. I am going to be doing seminars at 1:00 every day in the seminar booth or building that's kind of right next to the entrance coming in, and it's going to be tips for choosing the right RV. 10:00 I'm doing a seminar at the Lippert on Wednesday, and then 3:00 on Thursday, Dustin, Zach, and I are going to be doing a live uplink just like this. We're going to do that out there from the show. So either stop by one of those or stop by the CoachNet booth. I'm going to be down there answering questions. And then Terry came back and said, ran the wire underneath. Don't want debris, water, or mud splashing underneath. I agree. That's a good idea to protect all that stuff in there. So what else do we have coming up here? Guys, go ahead and post any questions or comments that you have. Anybody going to Quartzsite would be kind of interesting to see as well. That's going to be a huge show coming up here in the next week, 10 whole days or something like that. So where underneath, what do we got here? We got Brett has a long one. So 2020 Cedar Creek Hathaway 341K. I'm thinking about replacing the current Dometic 10 to 12 button thermostat with a Micro Air Easy Touch digital RV wireless Wi-Fi thermostat. I hope you don't have to pay by the word. That will cost you twice as much as or more. This will allow control of the heat AC from anywhere. Are you familiar with this thermostat?
So we actually just installed one of these on a Class C motorhome. The customer's back having us do some other stuff. We did a lot of things to his unit. We haven't played with them too much, but the customer seems to really enjoy them. He already had one done up for his first AC, and then we installed a second AC into the rear, and he's got a 30 amp unit, and he's got a separate battery bank just specific to run with a power share inverter to be able to run both ACs and whatnot. So we installed one on that, and it seems to work fantastic. And like I said, customer really enjoys being able to do everything that he needs to do.
Okay. I have those type of thermostats on my residence and on my business address. And so they're fantastic. I can turn it off and on anywhere.
Well, and the thing that, I get questions.
I guess for somebody that's living in it full time, that's preferably, because it makes it really nice to come home to a warm house or cool house or.
Well, and the thing you got to be careful with when swapping out thermostats is, number one, your RV thermostat is going to take 12 volts.
Yep.
And your residential stuff, I've had people say, well, I want to put in the oh, I can't remember what the name of it is. It's a round puck one that, you can, it's not the ring, it's the nest.
The nest, yeah.
The nest. Well, the nest runs on 24 volt. That's a typical residential. So then you got to get transformers and, all this other stuff that's really, quite cobbling. Some people have done it, but then the other thing you have to look at is that, Dometic that you're looking at doing with your 10 to 12 buttons, it has zones and it has different wires. So you got to make sure that whatever your new thermostat is, typically you don't see a lot of brands crossing over that are compatible, between Coleman and Dometic and,
Correct. Yeah.
and so forth. But, I don't know about this micro air that if you put it in, and I'm sure that it did work with that, but just make sure 12 volts and 24 volt stuff.
Yeah.
So I got one more here. Okay. I did say, oops, I got to get back to my comments. Michael said that it cut out on him. I think Ashley and I are playing ping pong with this this question here. I'm gonna show it. Leave it. Oh, there we go. So I am 1 o'clock. It's going to be every day in the seminar building. They have at the show. They have a main building, and then we are doing 3 o'clock live on Thursday. I think I said Wednesday, Thursday Eastern time, and we're going to talk about the show. We're going to take your questions. Same stuff that we're doing here. It should be really interesting. A lot of new stuff coming out. What do you guys see new coming? You just went to the what show was it? The part show?
It was the AIM show.
Okay. Anything new and wow at that came up? That
Not really too much new. I mean, there was little variances, but nothing really that jumped out. I know that the what's the air conditioning box that we put in the
airflow.
RV airflow.
Yeah.
Well, not the RV airflow, but the one that reduce the voltage when it starts up.
Yeah. That's
Soft start. So soft starts.
Start RV.
Mhm.
They've got a new surge guard that's out as a surge guard with the stop start built into it. But
Exactly.
it's only for 30 amp. So when you plug it into 30 amp, it allows you to still run 2 air conditioners without having to go actually up in the roof and put the soft start in the roof air conditioner itself.
Okay. So one of the questions that I have on that. So we put 2 of these on that 2015 Thor, and man, what a difference! A 45 amp draw when it first started, and we put those on, and it was just, it's like 9. Absolutely fantastic. Doesn't do anything for the normal run when you go. It's just those peaks when it starts. But I looked at that surge protector, and I talked with the Soft Smart Start RV guy, technician out there, and one of the things I noticed is that you have to plug the shoreline core into that.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you've got a unit that has a generator with an automatic transfer switch, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Through the generator style, going to that. So that's something to keep in mind. And I asked him if there was a possibility of, instead of having it at the shoreline cord, can you have it at that transfer switch somewhere? Because it's going from generator to shoreline, and that would kind of make sense to me to be able to do that. But then I don't know if it would be a surge protector, totally I don't know. But that's just something I noticed. I thought, ooh, okay.
It would be neat if they could incorporate it somehow into the circuit panel.
Yep.
So that it hits right before it goes in, regardless, it goes after the transfer switch. And, that would be kind of a neat idea.
Chuck just said that they were redesigning that. So maybe that's something they'll take into account. But if you do have a transfer switch, make sure you look at that for the one that's plugging into it. But it's a phenomenal thing. Okay. So we got Terry has 6 100 watt panels, 40 amp SCC, 300 amp chins. I sound like I'm talking to the space station here. Plus the Ames 4,000, 2,000 watt auto transfer switch, used kits from Rich Solar. If anyone who wants to know, not affiliated. Okay. So 6 panels. Terry, you must be doing an awful lot of boondocking with, now chins. I am not familiar with. Are you guys familiar with the chins battery?
No.
Okay, there's so many batteries coming onto the market now that are migrating from the residential solar panels and some of that stuff out there that it's hard to tell where they're at. But the ones I've worked with, XPN 360, I know that Go Power now is bringing one out. In fact, the XPN's right here behind me. Battleborn, Dragonfly, they're used in the Keystone stuff. Very, very dependable. So there's a lot of stuff coming out there. Reliant has had a pretty good track record. The thing I would be very, very careful about when looking at batteries, lithium batteries, is number one, you want the good cells. You want the not solder point connections of those cells. You want a mechanical connection because solder is cheaper. And what happens with that is that when it bounces down the road, it gets cold, you'll get little hairline cracks in that, and then they're no good. And the big thing is the battery management system in that, because if you go down below 32 degrees and it tries to charge those back up, you will ruin that battery. So, okay, we got Marcia then is our next one. And in the past show, you discussed a cover to secure the outside auto leveler door.
Yeah.
You mentioned.
Remember that? I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do not.
So basically what we were talking about was some of the RVs will have like a square or round accessible door, like for like your.
Yes.
Go to an RV place. I don't think Zach was talking about going into your local hardware store. You can get some kind of a door there, but I don't think they're going to be.
So you want to go to B&B Molders. Look that up on Google. It's a company made by Thetford, and they make all these outside plastic compartments and things like that. And you can get one that's going to be the right size. It's going to be a box, but you can just cut the ass into the box on and be able to secure that piece with the flip open door, and you'll be good to go.
So when he's saying box, he's meaning that it's made to go recess into a hole. So basically, we're going to trim off the back of it so it just sets flush mount like a picture frame over it.
Yeah.
And then the screws will be hidden underneath the door when it closes.
Well, and I would also go to an Ace Hardware or a home improvement store and go to the electrical department and ask them about some of their receptacle boxes. I ran a company that we would put it was almost like a recipe card type box on the outside for switches. It was a pressure washer that was mounted inside, and then you could go out like a central vac and hook this up, and this box had these buttons in it. And there were places around the country that they would steal the box, even though there was no value whatsoever. They would steal the box or play with the switches. And so we found at our local Menards here, they had this box that we could cut the size of that out and still have a lip. And then we mounted that box that had a locking door. So the box was only, ours was about 3 inches wide, but there's different sizes. So you can find some of those electrical boxes that you can modify that back to fit what you're looking at as well.
These boxes, like Zach's saying, the B&B stuff, they're not that expensive. I think they're like $20 bucks.
Yeah, but you got to have a hole for that, right?
Yeah. If you cut the box off, so you're just leaving the flange because we've done it. You cut the back off, so all it is now is the flange with the door, and there's enough of a lip that it'll clear that small little lippered pad. Okay. Then you just screw it in, and you're good to go.
Yep. Okay. Good. All right. So next we got Les is a spare tire carrier for a 22 Ford F53 22,000 pound chassis available.
Yeah. So what I would do on that scenario is I would go with like the Roadmaster tire carrier.
Yep.
That way it drops down. They have one that swings out.
It's easy to do with one person. Yeah.
And that one goes on the back.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
On the receiver.
And one of the things you got to kind of look at though is that just because it's a Ford F53 chassis, that doesn't mean that everything will fit on whatever model you have, because some of them have molded bumpers, some of them have metal bumpers.
Yeah.
So you got to look at the back end of the coach itself to be able to figure out. But I think that Roadmaster is adaptable for just
just about everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because it was
a double receiver too, so they can use the tow car as well as the tire. Yeah. That's what it's for.
If you're right, that goes into the Stinger, we call it, right?
Yep.
You know why it's called a Stinger?
Because it stings you.
Because in the middle of the night when you get up to go put that campfire out or go to the bathroom, you walk around the back and you hit that and it stings.
It stings.
That's crazy. Oh, so it's time for my Midwest joke of the week. You know, we got a lot of farm animals out here, cows especially, and so I read an article that Australia is going to start taxing farmers for cow burps because they give off methane. I'm serious. Look it up. It is a thing. But you know why cows in this area wear the bells on their harnesses?
Why?
Because their horns don't work. Where's my laugh track? All right, let's get back to this. Okay, so Terry says inverter is from Ames, and I'm not familiar with that either.
This gentleman Terry, his coach has actually been here before. I remember when he was in the middle of working on all this stuff. I think we did a front cap as well as some with his slide, or he was having an issue. He replaced the floor, and there was no carpet or something. But anyways, I remember looking at this gentleman's stuff, and he has it all nice laid out underneath the bed. And he actually hollowed out the backside of a wall where he was able to tuck everything down to come underneath. He did a really good job, and he did it all himself.
Okay.
Yeah, batteries also under the bed. Yeah.
So Terry says Sears in Central California, about 60 miles north, and not a cold weather camper. So don't come to Iowa. All right. And Jeff said Will Prowse on YouTube does teardowns and testing on chins and many other batteries. So like I say, I'm not saying they're I don't know anything about that battery, but there are so many that are coming on the market, just flooding on the market, that you really want to make sure that you take those steps to look at, the different types of batteries that are out there. And Terry says, yes, that's me.
I remember.
So he would like a discount for the next time for
him and his wife were very nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. So my next one is, why does Cinderella not play soccer? She's always running away from the ball. It was a slow day. What can I say? All right. We don't have any more questions coming up. So I
was just going to say, I got a couple things too. Wet weather, we've got a lot of high wind right now. We got trees going down. I'm on about 300 different Facebook groups. So I'm constantly seeing trees that are just falling down and damaging RVs. So if you guys that are watching this and you're at a campground with some trees and you have high wind and high rain, be careful with that.
Roll up your awnings.
Roll up your awnings.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of awning calls right now. We got a lot of, vent lid calls. So, I guess you'd say for winter stuff, if you guys want to talk about some winter stuff, whether it be furnace or vents or roofs or awnings, let us know what's on your mind. That's what this forum is about too, so that we can help you, guide you with anything. If there's any maintenance questions you have or anything like that, let us know.
So, okay, I just went on to my RVtravel.com Gmail account that I get questions in, and here's one that came up, and somebody said that I recommend not to use silicone on roofs and only use Dicor. So talk a little bit about silicones, or let me back up, sealants on some of that stuff, and what your recommendations are.
So there's basically two major brands of sealants in our RV industry. There's Dicor. So think of it as like Pepsi and Coke. There's Dicor, and then there's Alpha Sealant.
There's other ones, but those are your big guys.
But those are your main two. On the Dicor, so on the roof sealants, if it's a TPO roof or a rubber roof, there's two different types. There's a self-leveling sealant that's going to go on your front rear moldings, your vents, your skylights, plumbing vents, TV antenna, solar, stuff like that. Exactly. Then there's a non-sag sealant that's non-self-leveling. And so those come in, I think it's 6 different colors. There's black, gray, tan, white, ivory.
So this is the one that we use pretty predominantly. It's called Newflex, and it's a 311. That's what everybody, we get this at Winnebago, and we've used it pretty extensively, and that's kind of the one. Both of these are self-leveling, so they're going to ooze down. But if you're going to put something, and the nothing wrong with the Dicor, but the reason I told this, originally, I think I was talking to him about sealants is that there's this generic silicone. And everybody thinks that's the same thing.
Yeah,
And you go to a home improvement store, and I am amazed at how many different silicones there are. There's 100 bins of stuff in there, and there's some that are $2.95 all the way up to whatever. And so one of his questions is, what sealant would you not use? Well, I wouldn't use a $2.95 one, pretty sure. But the challenge is like you guys, I'm sure you've seen a lot of units that come in that somebody sealed themselves or somebody else, and it's all been peeling off, or it's not sticking or whatever. And it's bad, but you have no clue what kind it is.
Yeah.
They put it on whenever.
Yeah. Yep.
We see a lot of, like, at our local, big box stores or Home Depot and Lowe's, people will go in there and they'll read products that says that it's for RV application.
Like Flex Seal.
Like Flex Seal.
Nothing sticks to Flex Seal. If you lay it on, it's hard to get off. Nothing else sticks to it when it cracks and gets gross. Even though they say it on the commercial, you see the guy and he's slapping it on the RV roof.
Oh, that can't be right. They can put a screen door in a boat.
It's horrible stuff to deal with. When it goes into relation to what you can, because I think that's more the question you were asking. Whatever kind of roof you have, you need to know what that is, because not everything works on every roof. Dicor works on TPO, it works on rubber, but it's not best for fiberglass. You're going to use a self-level silicone on a fiberglass, so you need to know what you have.
Yep. Yeah.
And it could be an ABS roof. I mean, there's lots of, and
there are so many
too.
different ones out here. And where's my cheat sheet here? I've got somewhere.
And then some of those roof materials require a primer too. So it's the same thing with the roof coatings. If you haven't been cleaning and maintaining your roof, and the roof has started to deteriorate, don't just rush down to a hardware store and purchase, a 5-gallon bucket of the stuff that says
Dicor, EPDM,
safe for RV application, because it's not.
Dicor Flex.
Yeah, that's the TPO. Yeah.
And then see the difference that you can tell is EPDM is the cheap stuff that all starts black like this, and then it's got color that's put on it. So you get a lot more chalking with this. You get a lot more expansion and contraction. But then when you get into like this one, it's called Diflex or TPO. That's the same color on the backside of those. And then there's the new stuff here. This is the
ABS.
Yeah.
PVC stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about, let me ask you so a quick reference just for you guys watching, looking at the roof materials. The EPDM rubber roof is smooth unless it starts to get dry, and then it gets kind of reptile skinish and whatnot. But TPO is like basketball in texture. You can look at it right away and go, that's TPO.
No, you can't see that.
What do you think about PVC roofs? And I'll give you my thought out of stuff that we have done here. But what do you think?
Well, I've done a lot of research on them, and I don't remember the name of this, like Superflex is one of them.
Extreme is another big brand.
Extreme, there you go. I got a sample that up in my office actually, that I haven't done a lot of research on it, but I did a lot of research. I haven't had a lot of experience with it yet, because again, you guys got a service center that you've got stuff coming in day after day after day, and I'm pulling units in to do videos on them and research, and that's the challenge I have, is I don't have as much exposure to get there. And that's why I like the shows coming back. But I do, looking at the composition of it, looking at, the expanding and contracting.
The tear quality too is stronger, but.
Right. And they say no maintenance. They say you don't have to do anything to it. You don't have to, condition it.
With TPO, right? They say TPO, you don't have to do anything to it.
No, that's not what.
Well, they say you go up there with like Murphy's oil soap and but they tell you really don't have to apply any conditioners or anything on them or any protectants. That's like me not going out with a hat on. I mean, I have TPO roofs and pictures on our Facebook groups where customers have went out and whether they washed it with Dawn or they washed it with a rubber roof cleaner or they went out to the truck washes. Over time, it's damaged that material, or the material's just
good. I'm glad you went there. When you first said you don't have to put, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
we
that,
always recommend that you apply some type of UV protectant on the roof and all the plastics.
yep.
With us doing these roofs, one thing that we've kind of come across, we tend to shy away from doing them like as replacements and things, because the sealants are specific. Nothing else seems to stick except for like the PVC type, the sealants like extreme.
Yeah.
They don't adhere. Like when we're doing stuff like that, we like the units to come back. If there's anything that needs to be touched up, we take care of it, things like that. Stuff doesn't adhere unless we're using their specific products. Another thing too is the EPDM and the TPOs and all that. They're very forgiving when it comes to like rolling the product out and laying it on the roof. The PVC stuff seems to crease, and the creases don't lay out. A year down the road, 2 years down the road, the customer comes back, that crease is still there. And they come that way rolled up.
And if there's any transitions, Dave, if there's any roof transitions or certain radius transitions, it does not lay down nice. It looks ugly.
Yeah.
So it's not like the EPDM where you can pull on it, or the TPO where you can kind of tug on it and make it fit. So, I mean, if you came in, so we do usually about 50 roofs a year, sometimes a few more, sometimes a few less. But typically we just go with the TPO roof. We don't, if somebody asks and requests it, we explain the differences, especially if they're not in our area and they're going to travel around. Most repair shops, most dealerships don't keep the PVC sealant on hand because it's not as popular.
It's good to know. Good to know. One other thing, I don't see a lot of hashtag camps going on here. So
hashtag
I'm the only one that wins this thing coming up. Okay, so we've got the next one coming here is Done Right RV Reviews. He's back again. How do you guys believe? Oh, do you guys believe there's any chance RV manufacturers will use this slowdown in demand to take strides to improve quality? I actually made a video of this because I believe it is so maddening. Yeah. What? How about you guys?
You hope that they do, but at the same point, this is a nation of supply and demand, and if they can pump out what they were and people are buying, why put in the extra effort? Why put in all this time to go through and do it if people are going to buy it anyways? But you hope. I mean, we hope every day that coaches come in here and the quality's back up, and we're not doing multi-point inspections and finding 75 items wrong with the coach.
Yeah. I just did a post, Dave, on a, not to be specific on Grand Design, but Grand Design Solitude, nice unit. They're 100,000 plus. The customer put pictures of, she had broke her door rails, the wood behind the door rail, multiple times. And so I described to them what to do to fix it. And that's something that, like when we're talking about, like he's talking about improvements or quality, it's what you don't see that's behind the false panels and behind the doors and the finish.
Where they know they can skimp.
Where they know they can get away with that. And so like on that particular post I did on the door guide sockets, there were metal sockets instead of the plastic ones, and they stapled them in place. And then you know how typically they'll have 3 to 4 screws to secure the sides?
Yep.
Well, they only stapled it on one side. So the wood was stapled. So the wood to the door was actually actuating. It broke, but then also the guides themselves, because they were only mounted on the outside, they pulled away from it as well. So, it's just the quality thing. Like he said, when we go through the coaches and we offer a free exterior evaluation, and when we go into an inside one, sometimes we'll find 100 items.
Yeah.
And it hasn't broke now, but it will.
Oh, I agree. Somebody made a comment, the difference in your wallet before and after you buy an RV is before you had money, where after you had pictures of your RV.
Yeah.
So it is a matter of when it'll break down. But, in my opinion, it's still, to me, and I say this in my seminars over and over, and I can't emphasize it enough, is the buying public dictates the market. You are the ones that accept this stuff because you're not looking at it close enough. And the dealers, and part of it, they're selling 600,000 RVs last year, they're pumping it through as fast as they can. They're not doing the PDI. They're not doing the inspection. They're half the time they aren't even finishing up stuff because the dealer just says, get it here and I'll finish it up. And then that's a big part of the problem, in my opinion. But you have these people, the dealer accepts it because he's just trying to get them as fast enough and move as many as he can. And then the buying public comes in and they just get all wrapped up in the paint and the Corian and all this. Oh, this is beautiful. Isn't this wonderful? And they're buying the floor plan. And, I keep going back to a residential. If you were going to buy a house, you would get a home inspector to come in and look at absolutely everything. If you were going to build a house, you would look at the carpet, you would look at the fabric, you would look at the handles that go on the cabinet doors. But you walk in an RV and you go, wow, this is pretty.
That's something that I've been working on too, Dave. It's like on our website, I just added a section for buying an RV, selling an RV, and then RV warranty, right? So like we're saying, if they built the coach too fast, and some of the companies are advertising, hey, we send it out to a private PDI company or in-house PDI company. We finish off all the bells and whistles, and then it goes to the dealer, so the dealer doesn't have to take care of it. Well, regardless, all those steps and all those procedures are being missed. So we're actually offering inspections to go back and catch that. So if they're still under factory warranty, even though we're not going to do the warranty, we're still going to do an inspection, just like a home inspector would, to identify the problems and let the customer work back and forth with the manufacturers on it.
Well, and my hope, getting back to his point, is during the slowdown, when dealers have the time to be able to go through a PDI when they accept, rather than just, and I'm not saying it's everyone, you've got companies like Winnebago. My brother still works in inspection on the line, and they are, but that's not to say that they don't get into a rush where they have to get stuff out. I know General RV out in Michigan area, they've built their own PDI facility that everything goes through. So hopefully in the Slowdown area, and I think it's ironic that Slowdown there sold just under 450,000 last year. So 600,000 the year before. 450,000 is Slowdown. That's twice as many as 5 years ago. So it's slowing down. Yeah, but hopefully they have the time now where the dealers can go through these with a little more, a fine-tooth comb. And where it starts is that the owner doesn't accept it, and the dealer doesn't accept it, and then the manufacturer has to do something, because they will do anything they can to get that unit there and save as much money as they possibly can. And that's where you get into the door. I think we talked a few weeks ago about the guides for doors. You go and look at the door drawers in your house, and you pull it out, and there's metal rails, and they're connected, solid in the back. And you come into these, the RVs, they may have metal rails, but they're connected with those little plastic, U-shaped things that are stapled to the back wall. They never hold up, never. Yeah. And so hopefully, as you start looking at some of that stuff, that, get past the Corian and get past the tile floors and all that stuff, and look at the framework, of that.
And I'm not trying to beat up the manufacturers. I mean, they build a beautiful coach. It's just, when they have to cut those corners to get them out.
Yep.
Or there's a product issue, or, because think about all the different companies that are coming together to be put in an RV to make it to be sold, 1,000 companies. Yep. So sometimes it's not necessarily the manufacturer part, but, nobody wants to buy something that's going to have issues, and that's the thing is,
you're right.
Feel bad about it.
All right. So let's get back to the questions.
Yep.
As my friend's wife tells him, he's a pilot. And when he goes on too long, she goes, Mark, land the plane. So
Painter, get off the ladder.
Land the plane. Can the switch inside the Suburban SW6DE be bypassed? Running wiring up into the cabin to a switch inside the RV, so I don't have to go outside to turn on the electrical element. Okay.
So
yes. Short answer, yes.
Yeah. Unless it's on a separate circuit breaker inside the coach, then you can just leave it on all the time and then just shut it off with the circuit breaker inside the panel.
Will that shut off just the electrical, or will it shut off?
If it's just hardwired to a GFI or just a resettable, yeah. So if it's just strictly a water heater circuit breaker only.
Yeah, because that's going to supply your 120.
Yeah.
So if you shut this off,
just for the water heater,
that'll switch to LP.
Yep.
Okay. Or you can put a Zach switch in. We'll call it a Zach switch.
Yeah, you can bypass anything and run it wherever you want to, you know, but
so before we get to Bud's question, we're getting close here. Again, hashtag camp. I'm not seeing it very much.
Hashtag camp.
Yes, and let's do cool tools. So you've got one out there. I believe Ashley can pull that one up.
Yeah.
So this is our section we call cool tools. These are things that we are using in the shop or in different places. So go ahead with that.
So this one I brought up just strictly because I had a customer come in the other day and we were talking about it, and I realized how much that every time that we sell, you know, these tank rinser items, that people just don't know that they exist. I had a customer who came in and he had bought a used RV from somebody, a friend of his, and the tank wasn't, hey, it's supposed to have like, I don't know, 24 gallons or something. It's only taken so much. Come to find out, the person he had it or he bought it from was leaving the black valve open all the time. So all the solids were staying and all the liquids were going.
What's that called?
Sand on a riverbed.
Well,
Yep.
It's called a poop pyramid.
It's pyramiding.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you know, luckily his toilet dropped straight into the tank and it didn't have a weird angle, which they do make different ones that have snakes and whatnot. And he was able to get in there and clear a big chunk of it out with this, you know, go right down through the toilet, connected to his hose, and flush that thing out. And these versions, the straight ones, are relatively cheap. Some throw in the compartment. If something happens, boom, you're ready to go.
I have one here. I can't find it.
Never mind his PJs, everybody.
Those are my shorts. I got to 30 degrees. I'm wearing shorts today. I'm glad you brought that up because I got a friend of mine that locally here. He lives in his fifth wheel, and his black water tank filled up. Valve, you know, it's got a cable valve on it, and it would not drain. And he couldn't. We tried a whole bunch of different things trying to figure out what it was, and it was just a blockage. And so he was able to at least get the front valve or part of the valve off, and he used that to go up in again, and what that does, if you want to explain it a little more, is you hook it to a garden hose.
You're gonna hook it up. It's got a valve for on and off, so that way you can leave your hose on, go inside. And on this end here, and like I said, they have different ones. Some of them have like a little spinner, but there's different, kind of hard to see here, but there's different holes.
Directions.
And so that way it builds pressure and it sprays out, and you can go down inside that toilet and break everything up, or like your friend did where he went up the other side, you know?
They even make a apparatus that clamps onto that.
So it holds the ball valve on the toilet open.
Yeah. And that's nice. If you don't have a black water flush valve, you know, on that side, then you can go through the toilet inside there. It's a little more cumbersome because you got to get a water hose in through the bathroom window and various places, but some of these you can't get that black water tank flush on there if it wasn't put on at the factory. You know, your black water's remote underneath. You can't get to it. So
even those flushes, those don't get everything out.
Yep.
You know, so it's like sand on a riverbed. You need to get down in there and disturb it.
Sand on a riverbed. That must be a California thing. Yep. This is my last week one. Why am I doing that? Let me give me a second here. I gotta get my right slide here from my computer because I got a new one. Cool tools. And let's see if that brought the right one up.
This one.
I'm going to take that off. So I had a refractometer. I got the wrong picture in there. I do have a sample of one. Dang it. Wish that would have worked. So mine is called the battery minder. Now, a lot of people are familiar with the battery tenders that you get, the little 2-amp trickle chargers that, you know, you can find them in various home improvement stores and automotive stores and stuff. But what the battery minder does is it will actually throw high impact waves into the battery. And if you have a lead acid battery, sulfur attacks the plates. And if you don't have a multi-stage charger or something that breaks that up, which most people don't, they've got a 13.6 or 8 that drops down to 13.2. That sulfur gets thicker and thicker and thicker, and eventually your battery is done in 2 years when it should be, you know, conditioned right. It can last 5 to 7. And so this is for the single version. Now you can get these on Amazon.com. Here's the link to that. And it's just you basically, it does need electricity, 120 volt, or you can connect the version to a solar panel. And I would call Battery Minder at batteryminder.com, and their technicians love to talk with RVers and trying to get into the market. They're big into the aviation market. Their comment is it's hard to get a jump start at 30,000 feet. So the battery conditioning is a big deal. And they haven't broken into the RV market because, frankly, RV battery manufacturers don't want your batteries to last 5 to 7 years. Now, lithium is coming out, and they're warranting for 10 years.
Yep.
So that's different. But this one's a simple one. 2 alligator clips go on. You put it inside. You can permanently mount these. That would be for one battery bank. If you have 2, you'd probably want to go a little bit bigger. So look at the Amazon pages for the bigger one. But I've been pitching that for 5 or 6 years now at the shows, and I've had people come back that just say amazing. I went through my first set of batteries in 2 years or less, and now they're being conditioned right, and you don't have the gassing like you would on some of the other stuff. So, all right, we'll get back to Bud's question here. Ashley and I are ping pong. We click on this and it comes back. Is there a time when I need to turn the battery switch to the off position, as I am at a campground with 50 amps? At home, I stay plugged into 30 amps. Should there be a time when you turn off this switch? Go ahead, Dustin.
So if you're full timing in the unit once a month, my just recommendation is pretend like you're dry camping for half a day. Unplug the coach from the power, drain the batteries down. Don't kill them. Drain them down for 4 or 5 hours, and plug the coach back in. Basically, you're exercising the battery is what you're doing it.
Yeah, batteries are designed to perform a chemical process of transferring ions between an anode and a cathode inside that battery. They're designed to perform those cycles. And if you're keeping it plugged in constantly all the time, you're not allowing it to do that. So they need to have that cycle.
Yeah. So we call it exercising the battery, recycling the battery.
Well, and you do have some of your multi-stage chargers will do that for you. You get to a certain point, and they actually do a maintenance type of thing too. So check on what you have for your charger in there. And Keystone, it's a 2020. Keystone Cougar 5th wheel, and I would imagine, and also it depends on lithium versus lead acid.
Yeah, and
you're right, kind of on that edge where Keystone was starting to go with their Solar Flex system, they call it, and I don't know if they're Battleborn or Dragonfly. They're the same company. One's the Keystone version and one is the OEM version. But anyway, so that's what he would recommend. Let's get back to. We've got about 8 minutes. I think it's probably time to run our giveaway. And, I think, Ashley, if you want to bring up, and we'll see who's done their hashtag camp, and look for the winner of the Bureau of Land Management camping book.
This will let you camp at Dave's house while he's away in Florida.
Yes.
Joyce, congratulations.
Stone. All right, Joyce, if you would just email to editor@rvtravel.com, that goes to Chuck, and just give him your mailing address. He will send you that free book. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
We have Marcia. Our Fiverr has 2 slides on the driver's side. That side is lower or sagging. What's the best fix? Upgrade suspension, sumo springs, etc.
First thing to do is to check the leaf springs. Make sure that that one side's not flat. Unfortunately, it could be just because you have so much weight on that side. So making sure you replace anything that is damaged, worn, broken. But yeah, upgrading, Roadmaster Comfort Ride, adding the sumo spring, something like that is definitely going to help with that.
Yeah. And depending on what slide out it is too, you can always, if it's permanently out and you're living in it full time, you can always get the slide out support braces. So check out those. Just Google or go on Amazon even and look up slide out support brackets. Some of them you have to shim them with like blocks or 2x4s, but they do help support the weight of the room when it's in the out position.
I would also recommend weighing the coach.
Yeah.
And finding out where you're at. It's not uncommon to see 1,000 or even 1,500 pounds more on one side or the other, just by the way of the compartments and what you're putting stuff into. But I also kind of wonder, is it sagging with the room out, or is it also sagging with the rooms in, just sitting in the stationary position? So, but I would tend to think it would be leaf springs.
Yeah.
That are starting in, because you didn't give the year of that. So, the longer it sits, the more weight, the weaker those springs are going to get. Larry V is the next one up with a 2007 Allegro Bay with a couple of fogged windows. Can a DIYer remove and reseal them, or is this only for professionals?
Take it to a professional. There was a company. So we don't do it, so I don't know. There was a company who used to do it at a time around us. We actually talked about this before, but those aren't just like taken out and put in. They're like vacuumed or whatever inside of there, and it's supposed to help keep that from happening. So that's what happens is when the sealants or whatever on the windows break free, you lose that vacuum, and then you build that condensation in there.
Yeah. Well, normally what it does is it etches the glass, even not just fogs the glass. And I've seen several people take them apart, and we've done some we haven't done any videos on it specifically, but you can do it. You can get the replacement stuff, but typically from what I have seen is that if a DIYer does it himself, it'll fog up pretty quickly right after that, because it does take a special sealant. They're not argon gas filled like you have at home. They're just an air vacuum.
Yeah, there was a kit one time that CRL was making that you could buy and do it yourself.
Yep.
And we tried it. It didn't work.
No.
We took our time. It was for a friend of ours. It was a customer of his friend. We removed 3 windows. We took them all apart. I mean, by the time we were done, we had 2 solid days into doing it. Yeah. And within a week, they were back.
My recommendation, and you can do this yourself, is to put in new windows. Mm-hmm. You can come in, you can buy those windows. You got Hurd, Lippert even now has those windows. You got a butyl seal and inside.
How you get the windows for free?
How's that?
You put a little sign that says "Shoot me here."
Yeah.
Little kid with the BB gun.
There you go. I put that right here. Shoot me here. Yeah. So you look at, by the time you take those windows out and you take them to somebody, they take the windows out, they take them apart, they scrape and clean. They're etched, so they're going to have to do some sanding to try and get that scratched little pitting stuff out of it. You have more than the price of a new window. And 2007, I'm pretty sure that Allegro Bay just has the typical Hurd window with the window goes in from the outside and the ring comes in from the inside, and there's a series of
That's so much easier,
especially if they're your driver or passenger windows or your mirror windows. Don't mess around. Get them replaced, because it makes it an unsafe condition for driving. Yep. You can get tickets for that too, from what I understand.
Yep. Britt, he says a 2020 Cedar Creek Pathway 34. I use GeoCell GC ProFlex RV flexible sealant on everything but the roof. Is this a good sealant for RV exterior? Do you recommend any other brand? My roof is RV Flex Armor coated, so don't have to worry with the roof.
GeoCell's great. The regular ProFlex stuff, that's usually what they put on like higher end coaches and stuff anyways. For us though, as your service centers and stuff, that stuff gets hard as a rock later on in life, and it gets hard to take off the coach. So, but in general, the sealant's good sealant.
Yeah. So it also depends on the soap. So the soaps and cleaners that you use are going to deteriorate those sealants and cause them to get hard and yellow. It's going to cause them to dry out. So when they, like Zach says, it takes 3 times the amount of time to remove it versus a RV silicone, because that sealant's more like a sealant and an adhesive instead of just a regular RV type silicone.
Yep. Okay.
Like the old Turnabond, or not Turnabond, but what did we call that? I can't think of the name. It was real hard sealant back in the day.
Oh.
I haven't made it for 20 years.
Yeah. No, that was some nasty stuff.
I
So
can't think of the name. But you
Right,
put it
right,
on,
it
it
says
was
they
on there
staple
forever.
everything. Well, almost. I have seen. I know Winnebago doesn't staple in the higher line stuff, but we won't go there. Anode rods. My unit didn't come with one in 2010. Should I add one? The water heater's original.
If it's not a Suburban water heater and it's an Atwood, and that's probably why you don't have one, don't stick that in there. They have that plastic plug, if that's what you do have. That's also a safety feature. That thing's designed to blow out if there's an issue because you have
Exactly.
a different
So,
type of tank.
The Atwood is ceramic lined, right? It's stainless steel with ceramic, and then the
No, the Atwood's an aluminum tank with plastic coating.
Yeah.
okay, and then the Suburban's the one that needs the anode rod because it acts as sacrificial. The other one, the tank does. So you're right. Find out which brand you have and make sure that it's in there. And we're getting our countdown coming here. I do think we have. Mike says quality is why I got the 2000 Beaver. Beaver was owned by Monaco back in 2000.
Nice units.
They were on their own for a long time, and then Monaco bought them out with Safari and a bunch of other ones, and that was a very nice unit. That's right. So we got just a couple seconds. We're running the home inspection. Part of my business doing financial inspections. $1 million homes still have dozens. But and I'm glad you brought that up because I do this in my show. I ask people how many here have ever built a house. And they raise their hand. I find a couple there and say, okay, so when you got done, you had no punch list for anybody, the drywaller, the painter. You expect that in a house, and yet you don't accept it in a motorhome or an RV. You know, and there's a scale, there's a point. You know, so it's all whoever builds it. Grab a couple.
Sorry, everybody, that RV. This is RV. She keeps jumping up in my lap.
Branco.
She wants to be on camera, I guess. So,
not sure what Branco's. It's already blocked. Anybody remember that came up? Battery minded. Okay, and Terry, I'm glad. Battery minder. Do not use it on lithium. Lithium is wanting 14.6 constant. So this is lead acid only. Is that where you want that? And Marcia comes back and said the kitchen slide, it's heavy, it's sagging in 2022. Again, weigh the coach. Lazy Days has a dedicated department for unfogging glass. And I bet it costs just as much to get it done. Oops, you got 2 of them in a row there. 3 of them in a row, 4 of them in a row. How many years old unit will sag in its? How many year old units will sag in its site?
We had we've seen it like a year later down the road. A lot of manufacturers right now are putting the axles like right at the blade or right under the blade, trying to come off. Yep. And so they're wearing out really fast.
All right, Ashley's turning up the music on us, so we have the Golden Globe Awards are now finished. The Golden RV Globe Awards. So anyway, we appreciate everybody coming out. Make sure that if you get
so much for watching
down the Florida RV show, check my seminars out. But join us next Thursday, 3:00 Eastern, 12:00 Zach and Dustin's time, and we're going to do this again. And hopefully, we'll have some exciting things from the show. So everybody, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out. Tell your friends about it, and have a great week.
So much for joining us on today's live stream. If you think today's content was helpful, let us know by hitting the like button or share it with a friend.
We'll be right back here next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We hope to see you then.